Reason number 2 is developer experience. Trust me, once your team tries React, they'll likely fall in love. The rapid feedback development experience combined with React's small logical API creates a development experience that's very hard to beat. React is special because it offers a simple API that's easy to learn. There are very few concepts to master. React's API is so small and straightforward that developers rarely need to check the docs. The entire API just fits in your head. Could this get simpler? It's basically a function that returns what looks like HTML. With React Components, you import React at the top using a standard JavaScript import statement. Then, you can declare a component using a standard JavaScript function. The function receives variables via an object called props. You can also declare a React component using a standard JavaScript class. This approach is slightly more typing, but gives you a little more power. Now, you're likely wondering what's happening here inside this render function. It looks like HTML, but it's sitting in a JavaScript file, so how does that work? Well, that's called JSX. As you can see, the JSX on top looks like HTML. There are a few minor differences between JSX and HTML, and I'll quickly show you those later. Now, JSX compiles down to JavaScript. It becomes a call to react.createElement. The function is passed the name of the tag that you created, an object that specifies the attributes you'd like to set, and finally the markup that should sit inside. This final parameter contains calls to other elements if you have nested markup. So you can avoid JSX if you want to write this JavaScript yourself, but of course I recommend using JSX since clearly the top is easier to read and nest. Traditional libraries like Angular, Vue, and Ember seek to enhance the power of HTML by inventing their own syntax for simple operations like looping. For example, in Angular you say *ng4 let user of users. In Vue you say v4 user in users. And in Ember you say #each user in users. React went the exact opposite route. Instead of trying to make HTML more powerful, React just handles HTML with JavaScript. You don't need to learn new framework-specific keywords, rules, and syntax for conditionals, looping, and so on. You just use JavaScript. JavaScript already has a built-in function for iterating over an array called map, so in React you just use plain JavaScript. Basically, traditional libraries put fake JavaScript in HTML. And React is doing the exact opposite. It puts fake HTML in JavaScript. I find React's approach preferable because it creates a simpler API. React encourages you to get better at JavaScript, and in doing so, you also get better at React. Here I'm using Create React App, which is the most popular way to do React development today. I just say Create React App with the desired name for my app, and it creates a full working development environment on my machine. With a single command, npm start, it starts up a web server on my machine and serves my React app. In React, each component is atomic. It stands alone. This means you can work with each component in isolation. And every time I hit save, the changes are immediately reflected in the browser. And here's the great thing. If you make a mistake, you receive a detailed error message in the browser. If I forget to close a tag within JSX, I get a compile time message about the precise line where I made a mistake. And if you need to debug your code, it's easy to set a breakpoint and view the original code in the browser. Through the power of source maps, you can see the original code that you wrote in your editor displayed within the browser. And everything I'm showing you here happens automatically with Create React App, the most popular way to do React development today. Or you can use an online React editor like Code Sandbox to easily experiment with React, share your work, and even build your entire app. There is no configuration required, just load the site and start coding. Code Sandbox makes it easy to experiment with React and share your work. When I'm trying an idea, I just load up this site and start coding. You can create multiple files, reference them, use modern JavaScript, and every time you hit a key, you see your changes reflected on the right.